Sorry about that. Salam alaikum. I pushed the wrong button. I was just trying to like readjust and like my finger tapped on something. Anyways, here I am again. Salam alaikum. Where I am going to share my journey to Islam story today. Bear with me. I've taken some notes, so if you see me glancing over to the right, it's just that I wanted to kind of put my thoughts together. I want to give you guys a little bit of background about who I was before I found Islam, just so you can understand where I'm coming from. So, first of all, I work here at About Islam. I am a digital marketer here. Me and Sister Nicola, we take turns every Monday doing Positive Mondays, but people have asked me about how I discovered Islam. So I wanted to share with you guys real quick just my story. I was born and raised in the United States in a very small town in a very small state in the northeast of the country in New Hampshire. It's not diverse at all. It was a white Christian, very small town. One store, no lights, nothing like that. Street lights, I mean. I remember from a very young age, like 5 or 6 years old, walking to church. There was a church in my town, and I would walk to the church by myself. I would see people go there on Sundays. So I asked my mom, she's like, go get out of my hair and go. So I was going to church from a very young age. And actually, the people at that church really took me under their wing, and they taught me about spirituality and about God. My family was quite poor, and oftentimes my mom would send us to the church to eat, because the church would do like free, it would cook food for like the poor. So I was at the church a lot. As a kid, as a teen growing up, I was at the church. And most of the time I think my mom was just, go get out of the house kind of thing. But church was always part of my life. But I didn't have any parental supervision. My mom and my dad really didn't put rules on us. And living in a small town, I got bored very easily. By the time I was 12 or 13, I got very bored. And as you can imagine, as kids do, when they hit puberty, and they're bored, we tend to make bad choices, especially if our mom or our dad aren't giving us rules. So, by the age of 15, with no adult supervision, I tell you guys this only because I want you to know where I'm coming from. I don't want you to think that I'm exposing my sins. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, so people that maybe are in a situation like me can feel hope. But at 15, I became pregnant, and I was not married, and I ended up having 2 daughters. I was a single mom, and I saw how my mom struggled to feed us, and my mom struggled to take care of us. So I wanted to do things differently with my children. So I worked really hard. I worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time. I wanted to raise my daughters differently. I continued to bring them to church. I worked hard, but most of the time we didn't have any extra money for anything else. It was tough living. But, you know, God blessed me with these kids. I was going down a bad path, and my daughters needed me to act right, and I did. I stepped up, and I tried to do the best that I could for them. I was I paid a lot of attention to conservative politics. I was a big news junkie, Fox News, conservative talk radio. I voted Republican. After 9/11, I thought I knew everything about Islam. I had never met a Muslim in my life, but somehow by listening to the news, I thought I knew everything. Anybody that wanted to talk to me about, you know, Tammy, maybe you're not thinking right. Maybe there's another way for you to look at this. Maybe 9/11 isn't the Muslims' fault. And I would immediately get defensive and raise my voice. I was not a nice, I thought I knew everything. I sit back now and I think, gosh, I acted like I knew everything. And really, I was so sure of myself. I'm like, I really thought I know better than you do. But now, years later, I think I didn't know anything. Astaghfirullah. I was not a nice, I wasn't very nice. I was very ignorant. I continued to attend church, but I had never met a Muslim, and a Muslim, or what I assumed was a Muslim, I thought it was like an Arab. Any Arab would be a Muslim. People, the only thought that I had was what Fox News sent, showed me, this is what a Muslim looks like. Anyways, let's fast forward 20 years, okay? I'm still a staunch Republican voter. Both of my daughters have now graduated from high school, and unlike Muslim countries where your daughters live with you until they get married, my daughters moved out as soon as they graduated. So by the time that they were 18 or 19, they left the house. They got a job. They said, you know what, Mom, I'm going to go get my own apartment. I have a job. Goodbye. And now I was in this big house, and everything I had worked for and everything that I had known was gone. You know, I was used to working hard, coming home, making dinner, helping my kids with their homework, a lot of noise in the house, and then all of a sudden they grew up and they didn't want to be home anymore. This was a very tough time for me. I struggled knowing who Tammy was as a person and not just as a mom. So I really went down a dark path at this point. I fell into a deep depression, and sorry if you guys can hear my notifications. I thought that I muted them. My apologies. I went through a deep depression, and I didn't know what my next step was. In this deep depression, I ended up losing my job, and I decided that's it. I needed to make changes in my life. So I sold everything that I owned, my house, my home, all of my stuff in my home, and I had a friend that lived on the other side of the country. So they lived in Florida. So I actually went down to Florida, and I thought this was going to be a good change. And actually it was the total opposite. We have like an American saying, going from the frying pan into the fire. Like, it wasn't a good move for me. It actually was a really bad move for me. And the problem was I had spent all my money, and now I was in Florida, and I was away from my family, and I didn't have any support. The thing that I did have is, this is where I learned about the computer. The person that I was staying with had taught me about the computer and about the internet, and showed me like chat rooms, and showed me like Christian chat rooms. And so I would play on there during the day in my depressed state, and looking for some kind of something to fill this void that I felt. And all of a sudden I saw a chat room that said Christians and Muslim chat. I'm like, okay, well, I know. I'm very good at this. I know Christianity, and I've listened to a lot of talk radio, so I am very smart. So I went in there, and probably the second person that I text, I was saying some not very nice things, and I wasn't a very kind person, but this person just kept listening to me. He was a Muslim, you know, I would say some stuff, and I spewed some information that was misinformation now that I know, but I thought it was true. This person just listened, and they were very patient with me. And about an hour later, I got done chatting, and I felt something in my heart. Like, okay, here's this person. He didn't give me back any anger, even though I was showing him anger. So I think it was a day or two later, I went back onto the same chat room, and this person that I had spoken to was on there. And it was really a bad day for me, and I just let this person hear everything that was going on in my life. I just let it all out. This person never seen a picture of me, didn't know my name, just saw my screen name and me texting. Didn't know anything about me, and just listened to me as I told them everything that was going on in my life. And this person wired me money to go back home. After being mean, this person extended a hand and said, here is money for you to take care of yourself. And I said, I have no way to pay you back. He says, I want you to take care of yourself. I said, no, you know, this doesn't feel right. I can't do this. He says, I have no expectations. You don't have to pay me back. I'm not even going to give you my address. This person actually wasn't even in the country. So I was desperate, and I took the money, and it changed me. It changed my heart. As soon as that happened, my heart turned, and I felt lighter, and I felt like something happening. I went back home to New Hampshire, where I was from, and I started reading about Islam. I actually was addicted to it. I needed to get all of the information I could. I watched tons of videos and read everything I could, and I didn't talk to this person again for a long time. And after probably about a month, I went back on that chat, and this person was there. We'd probably spoken once or twice again after that on chat. But the person said, you know, asked how my life was, and I had a lot of questions about Islam, and I told him that I had been learning about Islam. He says, okay, why don't you come here where I live? Why don't you come to Egypt? Egypt? I have barely left my country. I don't have a passport. I'm not coming. I'm not going there. They're in the middle of a revolution. I'm not going to Egypt. Come on, come to Egypt. I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going. So I got my passport, and I went to Egypt, and I was shocked. I was so shocked. I cried when I heard the adhan. I cried when I saw people in the streets praying. Like, these people, they weren't shy about, like, worshiping Allah. They weren't shy about their love for God. They would, as soon as the adhan would go, they would shut their store and they would pray right there in front of everybody. They didn't shy away from that. And I wanted that. I wanted that in my life. And I read some more about Islam, and I realized that this is what I had been searching for. You know, I needed structure in my life. I had never had structure. I had never had rules. You know, I needed rules. And, you know, in the very beginning, what turned me on to Islam was no drinking, no alcohol. I needed that. I needed somebody to tell me no alcohol. As a Christian, nobody told me that. I would drink with some of the people I went to church with, and alcohol did nothing for me except for brought me pain in my life. So when I read about Islam that there was no alcohol, that Muslims can't drink, I was like, wow, I need that in my life. The other thing that really turned me on was no relationships before marriage. Oh my gosh, I had been looking for this my whole life. I had struggled looking for something to fill this hole inside my heart, and it was either alcohol or other haram activities that never filled that hole. And now I have Islam that is telling me, don't drink, don't have relationships outside of marriage. I go to Egypt, I see people praying, I hear adhan, I see Muslims that are proud to love God. They're not like shying away from it. And 1 week later, I said my shahada. Yeah, I couldn't hold back anymore. I needed to be part of it. Yeah, so I guess I wanted to share my story. Like, the two lessons that I learned most out of this story, even as I've reflected back on it now, was that I was in the darkest place. I really, there was really dark times for me, and Allah pulled me out of it. And the person that I am, in the place that I am now, I would have never guessed 5 years ago that I would be here. 5 years ago, I would have never ever guessed this. I thought that I knew everything. I thought that I knew everything about Islam, and that Muslims were this other thing, and I was so wrong. So don't give up. Hold on to hope. Hold on to Allah, because seriously, He is amazing and He will pull you out of it. You're going through something to learn something. But the other lesson that I learned that's equally just as important, and one thing I want to say, is that give kindness, even to people that are mean to you. Give them kindness, because it's kindness that turns hearts. If somebody hadn't extended a hand to me in my darkest time, who knows where I would be. But somebody did something nice for me, and it changed my whole perspective. I was flabbergasted. I had never had that in my life, where somebody would be so kind, wanting nothing in return. So give kindness wherever you can. You see somebody having a hard day, they're angry, give kindness. You don't know, that kindness seriously could change somebody's life. So this is all I wanted to say to you, I wanted to share with you guys. It was pretty personal, and I'm sorry if it triggered any of you guys. I wasn't trying to expose any sins. I just wanted to share my journey, and hopefully somebody got something from it. And I hope that I can respond to your comments after this live session. So thanks for tuning in, and Sister Nicola will see you guys next Monday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.